Olá a todos, sejam bem-vindos ao Tudo Sobre Futebol Americano, hoje para falar sobre os Lisboa Devils, a ferro e fogo. Fica a nota que o episódio de hoje vai ser gravado em inglês, porque temos o nosso primeiro convidado internacional, o Joey Bradley. Hello man, how are you?
Dude, I'm doing good. I'm enjoying. It's good to see you. Good to talk to you again. Always.
Yeah,
like always.
man. Long time no see. We were already speaking for the past 30, 40 minutes, but just on off and getting to catch up a little bit. But I miss talking with you, man. And thank you for accepting the invitation to speak with me here at Tudo Sobre Futebol Americano. I
Everything
usually...
about football, baby.
Yeah, all about football.
All about football.
All about football. But man, let's start off by, first of all, I know you understand Portuguese. I know you speak a little bit of Portuguese, but I was just telling at the beginning that you're my first international
Okay.
guy coming on the show. And I would like, everybody related to American football in Portugal knows you, but I would like for you to introduce yourself a little bit, what you've been doing, your connection to American football in Portugal. But talk to us a little bit about Joey Bradley.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on. We've always connected pretty well throughout the years. And dude, you were actually the first international guy on my podcast too. So that's kind of a cool little circle of life right there. But yeah, Joey Bradley. I am now 30 years old. Been playing around Europe for the last 6 or 7 years, 6 seasons. And originally from Issaquah, Washington, right outside of Seattle. Man, I've had a crazy path. Just to go bullet point real quick of California, North Dakota, Connecticut, Portugal, Poland, Spain, Czech Republic, Finland. Lived and played in many different places. As you guys will find out, I like to talk. Like to just connect with some people, travel around, see some new things, try some new things. And my connection with football in Portugal is I played 5 years ago with the
time flies
for real with the Lisboa Devils, and we won 2 championships while I was there, 2 undefeated seasons. And Portugal to me has kind of become where I feel most at home. So it's always kind of nice. I think since moving away from there, I've gotten to travel back at least once a year over the last 4 years. And Portugal to me, like I said, is where eventually I'd like to settle down. And so it's kind of cool to have somewhat of a legacy in that country.
Yeah. I mean, the idea today obviously is to talk a little bit about you, about the Lisbon Devils itself. I mean, I thought that you would be the perfect person to be in this episode because you've joined the Devils when the Devils were in the breaking point. Let's say you were the missing piece. Let's say it like that.
Right.
Do you remember our first conversation?
Kind of. I remember I was sitting in like my mom's basement basically, and it was you and Duarte, right?
Yeah.
And Skinner
on
the 3-way kind of Skype call thing. But to be honest, I don't really remember too much about it.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a brief context. Okay, so the Devils basically, it was a team that was created in 2013 by Duarte, and I've joined the team as the head coach, and we made like a plan that had like 3 years to develop. The first year we basically wanted to create something. The second year we wanted to consolidate that. That's when Coach Skinner came on board. And from the sports aspect, the team grew from the first to the second year. But when we were in the second year, looking at the third, the idea was to conquer everything. We want to win. And Skinner at the time mentioned, okay, if we want to win, we need to bring players on board that can help us on the field in practices in developing good practice scripts and ideas and create a good environment. So I remember this as if it was yesterday, Joey. We had the meeting with the QB that was playing in Spain, an American one. I don't remember his name.
Okay.
We had a Skype call, and like when we were talking, I was like, yeah, I don't know, I don't feel, I work in human resources, so I'm used to being in interviews and to get like the technical questions and everything, but I'm more
Right.
of a feel up guy, like I feel the people, I feel the person that
Yeah.
is in front of me. And when the Skype call ended, I was like, yeah, honestly, coach, I don't feel like this is the guy. And then he said, hey, wait a minute, I have another guy I'm chatting with. Let me see if he's able to join in a call. Like 10 minutes, you were in. And like 30 minutes after we spoke, after the call, Coach Skinner was like, so what are your thoughts? And yeah, this is the guy we want. So
What, if you don't mind me asking, what was something that made you think like I was the guy? Like, I guess I'm stroking my own ego here, but I'm curious to hear
yeah,
this.
there I remember you were mentioning the place you were in your life where you were coming off a bad breakup, that you were
Right.
trying to find something to move on forward. But everything that you mentioned in your language was us, not me. You never mentioned like uh, I want to make it happen. No, you mentioned, obviously you could say, yeah, I want to do this, but I want to go to a place where we can be successful. Your language was always in plural. I'm saying
Uh-huh.
this.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
It's always us. And this is some things that sometimes we don't even notice that we have that in our language, in our way of speaking and saying things. But yeah, I really noticed that. And yeah, and then like the energy we had, we really connected at first. And then yeah, then you came on, and things really went well, like you mentioned, with the two undefeated seasons, the two championships, and obviously afterwards you were able to go into different leagues and so on. But focusing now a little bit, I gave like a brief context about the team and how things moved forward. Tell us like a little bit about the experience when you arrived, like what were like your first impressions, what you felt a little bit.
Man, I had such little expectations in a way because, like you kind of said, I was in a weird place mentally when I came. And so I really was just looking to get out of my current situation and kind of just get a fresh start in general. And I'd never been to Europe before. Um, but everybody that I was friends with who had been to Europe before me said Lisbon's the best. Go if you're going to go on a Euro trip, make sure Lisbon's on the schedule. And so it all just kind of perfect storm came together. And so I just can remember seeing the bridge, what, April 25 bridge, and thinking like, what the Golden Gate Bridge is here? Like, what, where, like
Yeah.
I didn't get too much sleep. And then we had the camp that first weekend. And so me and Skinner walked around a bunch, and it kind of felt like being in a dream at a certain point.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect, but then we got up to, Torrevieja, or like Santa Cruz or whatever.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
everybody was super cool. And, dude, it's crazy because I wrote in my journal almost every day during this time. And so I should send you some of that stuff looking back, because it's funny to see. I've read it a little bit, but Miguel was like one of the first guys to really try and include me. And there were just some like weird little things about, I should have probably read it before I did this, but yeah, I should send you that. But it was just, dude, I had no expectations. And when you kind of have no expectations, everything can be great. And luckily everything was great. But I came over there very minimal contract, very
Yeah.
like we didn't even know where I was going to live. I don't think when I got there, it kind of all went together, and I was just kind of, all right, I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be out of, the situation I was in, and whatever happens is going to be great.
Yeah, just let it flow a little bit, let it see where it takes you. And like if you had obviously then you had that first contact and then things started clicking and moving forward. But if you had to choose now that it's been a couple of years and looking back, if you had to choose a name for the culture that we developed on the team, which one would it be?
Hmm. It's super cliche when we talk about football and sports and everything, but the Devils those 2 years for me especially were like family, so or brother, the it's like I said, it's super cliche. And I think a lot of people say it insincerely, but that team, as we've talked throughout the years, for the most part, everybody was pretty good friends with everybody. And that's rare for football. And everybody was really playing for the other guy. And so it was, for me, probably one of the most family like atmospheres that I've ever been a part of. And so, yeah, if I had to narrow it down to one word, that's what I'd call it.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and one thing that it's always also like connected to football, to any team, it's like the leadership. And I mean, you know me. I'm like, I don't believe I have like a leadership style. I think that that you need to adapt the kind of leadership to the moment the team is going through. And when you arrived, obviously you get like the baby steps. You start to feel the team to understand what your role would be. We at the time I was the offensive coordinator, so I had like the tool of the team in terms of calling plays and everything. But after like a couple of weeks or 2 or 3 months, something like I think it was like 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
I obviously understood that I can call the plays and the team can be good, or I can give you the play call and the team can be great. So that's something that happened on the Devils, and that is connected to the leadership. And after the Devils, obviously you had different experiences and so on. Right now, how would you say that is your defined style of leadership? What do you like to put on or have on your team? Do you like to adapt also? Or do you have like a clear and defined style that you like to apply?
As like an offensive coordinator, I've came from a more spread background, but as I mentioned, moving around college for my 4 seasons that I was eligible, I had 4 different offensive coordinators, from everything from spread to multiple to whatever. And so I guess there's a little bit of knowledge of everything. And so I I I definitely have my base of what I like. But for example, if you don't have 4 receivers that can play, it's pretty stupid to run a 4 wide receiver set all the time. Or, if, and so
Yeah,
there has to be, I think, a little bit of a balance to having a system, but then not being married to it, where if you show up to a team and, hey, we can run the ball and we have a tight end and a fullback, which is almost non-existent nowadays. But I think at some point fullbacks will become a thing. Like, hey, let's not be spread. Let's play to the strengths and then find your system within that team. And so fortunately now in Europe, for the most part, everybody is more skill based in terms of being receiver and spread. And so every team you go to normally has that skill set. But I don't even, if I went to a team that had 2 good tight ends, it'd be like, all right, we want to be in 12 personnel more than we want to be in 10 personnel. And so
yeah, yeah,
I think having kind of an idea and an identity is important, but sometimes guys will run into the problem of like, no, this is my system and we need to mold the players to my system. And I
yeah.
think it's a little bit of balance.
Yeah, it's adapting a little bit the human resources to the system and not. Yeah, I totally agree, and I believe that's one of the reasons why we were able to be so successful together while at the Devils. And did you felt while we're talking on this, did you felt like a huge difference in terms of like the cultural side in the American experience that you had? with the Portuguese one, like in accepting ideas, accepting different ways of communicate? Did you saw a huge difference?
Yeah, I mean, dude, the fact that you basically gave up power essentially and control of the offense to me middle season is something that I really admire because I don't think many dudes would ever do that, you know, and but you saw it for what it was that it was going to be in a better situation. And so the you know, that would never happen in the US, you know, like that probably wouldn't happen most places in the world, I don't think.
Yeah.
And so from that from that idea it's definitely different. It was cool with the Devils because it was fairly such a new sport relatively speaking that the guys were so hungry not only to win but to learn that coaching them and playing with them was so easy in a way because guys were motivated to learn and there hadn't been a ton of success doing it a certain way before, and so everyone was really open to trying something new or calling it something different. Where you run into, like in the States, you know, a receiver that's dominated in high school maybe not doing it the most fundamentally sound way. When he gets into college, he doesn't take coaching that well because he's he's had success doing it his way. And so
Yeah.
now you're kind of trying to tell him, do it this way. And maybe he's not going to be great at it at first. And so that uncomfortableness of not being good and failing can make guys nervous. And so there just there wasn't that in Portugal with the Devils. So that made it just so easy from the install and coaching and getting guys on board.
Yeah, you know that thing that you were saying about like giving up power or stepping a little bit back and let other people get the spotlight. I mean, it's for me it's a no-brainer every time that you're managing a team, like because for me the best measure of success is how far we can go, not as I can go. You know, obviously there are situations. I remember like our first year where the twins Pedro and João
Yeah.
like made a huge play, a reverse play on a kickoff that got us the game. We won. And after the game, the other coach came over and said, "Hey, coach, that was a great play you called." And I was like, "Yeah, thank you. It was the guys that made that without telling me anything, you know." So I was like, "You also have that side, obviously." But I really remember when João and Pedro came up to me and said, "Hey, can we run the reverse on the kickoff?" And I was, "We never practiced that." "Yeah, but we feel it's gonna work." And I'm like, "Okay, try it." And then the coach came over and said, "That was a nice play, coach." I was like, "Thank you very much." uh, but yeah, looking a little bit now for the Devils, and also looking a little bit about to the Portuguese teams. You're able in those 2 years to face most of the teams that were playing at the time. For me, 100% clear that was the premium play in Portugal. Those 2 seasons, the season after also was really good in terms of having good players, quality players, not only imports but also national players. I think for me those were the 3 premium years in Portugal. My question to you is, which, if you had to say one player, which was the best Portuguese player you had the opportunity to see, play with, or against? You can give us like a player from the Devils, and then one
Okay.
player from any other team.
Okay. Ooh.
There are guys that are gonna
This is
not gonna
tough to
like
say
the
for the
answer.
Devils
Yeah.
because someone's gonna be mad at me no matter what, you know. Um, I think on the Devils, the guy. Well, I'm gonna kind of cheat it because I'm gonna give two for each.
Okay. Okay.
On Devils, the guy who impressed me the most from an athletic standpoint was Pedro Almeida. I mean,
Yeah.
he he could do some stuff he didn't even know he could do or what he was doing. Just the way his was able to run and catch and just he was tough as shit. And I mean, just he was impressive. And then I thought the other guy that we really leaned on was Willian. and I'm on the offensive side, so I guess I'm going to pick two offensive
Yeah,
guys,
the defensive guys are not gonna like to
No,
hear
yeah,
this.
I know. Sorry, doll. Yeah, Lorenzo's going to message me after this and say, no more.
You're never.
No, I shouldn't have given you free gin and tonics at Urban.
For sure, for sure.
But then guys that we played against, I guess I really didn't have to play against him much because he didn't play defense that much. But Juz was, he dominated. He made the games against the Crusaders close. Where if I think our first game against them was like 60-54 or something. It was basically whoever had the ball last was going to win. And then, but I didn't really have to. He didn't play defense that much. But the guy that defensively that I feel like was the best was Train João.
Yeah,
I forget what his last name is. I just know him as Train.
Yeah, João Marques. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean he's was physically able to do everything. You could tell he knew what was going on the IQ side of things. He was a leader. He was tough. He was big. Like he was pretty damn impressive himself.
Yeah. We're talking about probably some of the best talent that we had in Portugal. Train is a guy that is here since the beginning. So not only has those traits that you mentioned, but he also has the consistency of being here every year and keep on playing at the good or high level.
Exactly.
Now I have other hard question for you. Now this only related to the Devils.
Okay.
If you had to choose one guy as the character award, like the funniest guy on the team, which one would you say? And if you can share like a funny story you had with him.
Man, funny character guy. Dude, that team was just full of characters. Like I mentioned, I mean, it was kind of the combination of the O-line that first year with Valent, Cunha, Font, like those three guys were kind of always giving each other crap at practice. And so that to me always just kind of sticks in my mind of some funny stuff that I can't even really remember stories, but just, different, like them telling me, hey, tell Miguel this, call Miguel this. Oh, tell Font this, and just like little, like picking on each other kind of things that it was all in good fun that those, and then you add like Cassiano, who's just like just perfect guy that you want on the team that can also dish it out a little bit and also take it was just a good little, I'd say the O-line as a whole was kind of that little group of characters that when you needed some kind of joke, if I needed to tell a joke and get a laugh, it was from the O-line, I felt like.
Yeah. No, the O-line at the Devils was very particular because you had like those guys that were the goofy ones, and then you had guys like Rui that
exactly
he's a 4-year-old dad that was always there, always committed, always giving his best. But
Hui was like you needed Hui because he liked being the audience. Like he liked listening and being in on all the jokes. He might not be giving them out, but he was always there, ready to laugh and want to have a good time. I don't know why I can't even really think of stories, but Shinez was a character in my mind, for whatever reason, just him and the little, and then on defense, it was probably the linebacker crew that were the characters of Shinez, Ruben, Lorenz, those three. I don't have a distinct story, but just if we went out, those were the guys that were funny and fun to talk to.
Those were the dangerous guys. Yeah.
Those were, or the fun guys. Or both.
Or the fun guys. Yeah, that's true. Okay, and I saw you're spreading love for the O-line as well. That was smart. It's because O-line is the best friend of any quarterback. Anyone that is hearing us, and take this into consideration always.
For sure. And actually, if we're going to finish on the O-line with Moreno and second year with Gonçal and I always mix up the names of the twin. Rogério.
Rogério, yeah.
Yeah,
Rogério, yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. I mean, again, it was like it's funny how no matter where you play, for the most part, the offensive linemen, whether it's Poland, Portugal, Czech, Spain, Finland, the U.S., they're all very similar in terms of funny, goofy dudes that kind of just want to have fun. And even whether it's culturally, age, whatever the differences are, they're all pretty similar in that
Yeah.
way. And so,
Yeah, I saw a clip a couple of days ago of Landon Dickerson, the center for Alabama, doing like splits, not splits when you go like
cartwheel maybe.
cartwheel, yeah, behind Mac Jones while he was doing an interview, and I was like, oh my god, this is the old line, always goofing around,
Yeah,
always like claiming attention by not claiming the attention. Yeah, it's
exactly.
yeah, all lines are the best. They are my favorite guys on the team. Also always.
For sure.
Um, if you had to say like you played in a lot of games in Portugal, all over Europe, but if you had to say like which was your favorite game to play in Portugal and then another one in Europe, which games would you say to us?
It's easy and there's not even a doubt. Well, I'll give to the favorite game ever was the game against the Turkish team. That for whatever reason, man, that one sticks in my mind. Some shit happened in that game that just, you know, I honestly on paper, I think that team was better than us. And if we played them 5 times, they might beat us 3 or 4 out of the 5. But we just competed and it was one of the best games. I can't really remember a ton of details, but just back and forth. I know Colin balled out and did some impressive stuff that game, and was matched up against their import, and then the domestic Turkish versus Portuguese battles were really good. It was just a really good game overall, and but then I also kind of have to say one of my favorite games was the first game against the Navigators
Okay.
because the Navigators were the top dogs, and that's all I had ever heard about, leading up to that game was Navigators this, Navigators that. They'd, won every game forever, it felt like. And we came out and I think I had like 7 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns passing. I think
Yeah,
Pedro
the
had like
game the
3.
game was 51-8. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I mean,
Yeah.
we came out and it was like we put Portugal on notice, and Bernard scored a touchdown or two, Pedro scored a couple, Colin had a couple. You know, we ran, our defense shut him. It was just one of those things where it was like, all right, the tide is changing. There's
Yeah.
a new sheriff in town, and the competitive asshole in me just loves seeing a team be defeated at the end of a game. And I have to say, at the end of that game, like there was a shocked look in all the guys because the Navigators had never really lost, and so
Yeah.
to not only lose, but I mean we won by 40, and so it was a thing that was just like, all right, dude, we're here. And so that in a way was kind of one of my most fun games too.
Yeah, no, yeah. I remember both those games and they were like amazing. And if you had to say one in Europe, like that you played in any country that you've played in any team, do you have like a game that sticks or comes to your mind right away?
um Maybe the semifinal in Poland my first year. Same kind of thing in Poland, either the first game or the semifinal game, which was we lost in the championship that year. But the first game, because we kind of played a crappy team, but I was only there for 2 practices before that game because I just came from Portugal, and we scored like 50 points and they had really struggled on offense. And so selfishly, it was kind of like they'd been really good in the past, but it was like, okay. And everything that I was doing worked. And so I kind of got that confidence from the team like right away. And then the last game there, or the semifinal game there, we beat the Lowlanders, and they had lost to the Lowlanders earlier in the season before I arrived. And so again, it was just this kind of, there was a cockiness from the Lowlanders, and we ended up, I think, winning by 21 or something at the end of the game. You know me, I'll go for the neck and throw it deep when we're up by 14 to make sure we win it. And we did that. And so it was just kind of one of those games that was like, gotcha. I never got to beat the Panthers in Poland. They've beaten me quite a few times, and so I can't say that. But in Poland, beat that. Those two games are probably up there for me.
Yeah, and the good thing is you still have time to go beat the Panthers eventually.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how that'll happen because now they're in the ELF, and we'll see. But yeah, well, or dude, I talked to them about joining them last year, but then I went to Czech instead, and so. You know what the old saying is: if you can't beat them, join them. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
yeah. And regarding that, do you have right now? Do you have any idea, any goal to play in any specific league in Europe? Do you have any special plans, or you're just like following a little bit the tide and see where it takes you?
You know, I would say I kind of have a plan, but I can't really explain it. I know maybe that doesn't make sense, but as we talked about earlier, I would like to go to a place where I can really have an impact. And I think that one of my strengths is coaching and being able to teach guys different things. And so I like the idea of going to the leagues that are more on the rise rather than the established ones, where guys are still hungry to learn. And so for me now, it's not so much about finding the best league or the most money or whatever. Is just going to a spot that I feel really is hungry to win and hungry to learn, where I can feel appreciated in the sense, you know, like, because I've had multiple guys from the Devils over the years message me about how I've helped grow their love for the game and stuff like that. And it's like, those messages are worth more than playing at the top league. You know, I've played competitive football and a lot of it in college. I've played, you know, it's not, nowhere I'm going to go is the NFL. And so to me, it's kind of all in the similar boat. So I'd rather go to a place that is going to selfishly leave me feeling like I made an impact rather than, as we talked about before, just being another import somewhere.
Yeah, you know, the question about which are your favorite championship, which are your favorite game. The thing is, it always comes to mind. Sometimes it's like the guys that were next to you, or some certain situations, like you mentioned with the game with the Turkish. On paper, we should not have won that game, but on the field we won it. Like in Austria, when we then went to play in Austria, I remember when you got hurt and Bernardo wasn't playing on that game, and we were like, "Oh, I was gonna say a bad word in English. It splits out a little bit better, but yeah." And I was like, "What I'm gonna do? I don't have a quarterback." And then I had to go in and play quarterback. It was a fourth down, and I was like,
right.
You remember that one? And I was like, "Oh my God, what I'm gonna do?" And I was gonna punt because we had the system where we punted from the spread formation.
Yeah.
But when I got to the position, I looked at Colin and I was like, I can throw a bomb to Colin. I thought about it and it sticks to my mind and I should have done it. But no, I punted.
Yeah, no, dude, that's right. I forgot that I kind of, like my left shoulder's always kind of been not great. And I remember just the asshole American in me. I'm just like, you know, the trainer came up, I was like, don't touch me. I'm all right. Just give me a second. And I like looked at Eduardo. I was like, do you have some kind of I was like, do you have some kind of pill?
You can say bad words in English. Okay. It doesn't sound so bad.
I was like, do you have some kind of pill? and like an Advil or something. And he's like, yeah, I think I got a couple. And he like gave me one. I was like, no, give me like 2 more. Just like, let's go. And
Yeah, but the thing was then that you had to stay one play off, and it was the fourth down. Dude, I really remember the thought process in my mind, like, oh, I'm finally gonna be as a quarterback in the game because we don't have Bernardo. Joey is hurt. It's a fourth down. Oh my God, I'm gonna throw a bomb to Colin. No, I'm gonna punt. And actually, it was
and
a great punt. It was
well,
inside the 5 yard
I
line.
didn't even
So
see it. I didn't even see it. I was hurt on the sideline. But dude,
yeah,
you honestly probably could have thrown a bomb to Colin that game, because Colin
it was
was
playing. Yeah,
balling that game. I
that's
mean,
true.
because he
Yeah,
had gotten hurt in the championship game. Yeah, which was the game before against the Sharks. And so he had this like thing to prove to himself that I'm not
yeah,
going out like that.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, those Austrian guys, I'm sure, have nightmares still of old Colin.
Yeah, no, that game was also, we lost by like 30 points or something. We were completely out of our league in terms of as a whole, but the game itself was like amazing. Like I remember then after the game watching the sun going down behind the stands and all of that. It was like dope
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
memory.
speaking of that, I mean, honestly, I think we got blown out in the fourth quarter, but going into the fourth quarter, I think we were only down by like 10 or something. And
Yeah,
then I threw an interception in the red zone where if I should have just stuck to throwing it up to Colin was on beast mode that game, where I should have just kept feeding him. And I think if we scored there, it would have been within a touchdown. And so I'm sure if they made the mistake of just trying to get too pretty, they could have ran the ball every play and gotten like 8
yeah,
yards because their line was huge. But it's funny you say the after game stuff, because damn, I haven't thought about this, but I can remember after that game being on the field and we're all kind of walking around and thinking to myself, and I don't know if Colin and I were walking off together or something, and we just kind of like look at each other as like, you want to do this one again? You want to do this again? Because neither of
yeah,
us ever planned on playing there 2 seasons. Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's how great of a team and situation it was there. Where I think we both kind of walked off. I was like, dude, you trying to do this one more time? He's like,
yeah.
yeah, I could be down
You had your Gronk and Brady moment.
for
Like,
sure. For
run it
sure.
back. Let's
Run
run
it
it back.
back. Exactly, man. But it's funny you
That's
say,
so
because
awesome, man.
I can remember that of just, I don't exactly know how we said it, but it was something like, yeah, you want to do this one more time? He's like,
Yeah.
all right,
Now,
yeah.
now insert the Eminem song, the one that
Yeah,
he
guess who's
usually.
back?
Yeah. So good, so good. But yeah, this comes to say that yeah, the memories, the guys, the environment is usually what sticks out in the end of the day. And yeah, now I mean we are now going into the last quarter of the podcast, looking a little bit to the league itself. Again, those years that you were here, and probably the year after, where you then went to Poland. We had Kyle playing as a quarterback. Obviously, the team it was a little bit different, but the competitiveness that we had in the league was amazing. The year
Right.
after, things went a little bit down. Things weren't the same from a spectacle standpoint. What do you think should be like, or what do you think we were missing in terms of having like a long term? Because one of the things that we really never invested on was like youth. Do you think that
Right.
was a mistake, or
Yeah, I mean, I think in order to really grow a sport, you got to have the good national players. And I feel like if you look at the top teams in Europe and the top countries, mainly Germany and Austria, I think there has been quite a bit of effort put towards the youth programs. But it also, man, it's tough because if you have a youth team but a crappy coach, it's just babysitting in a way. There's it's you're not going to naturally progress just natural. You know, maybe a couple guys will, but it's not going to make this thing into a long-term successful thing. And so, and it's hard to find good coaching. You know, it's hard to find good coaching in the US, let alone getting somebody over in Europe. And so I would say the answer would be, to make it long-term, would be youth and coaching. But that's way easier said than done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand. I mean, you were. I have here two more questions. You were probably the best quarterback, or I don't want to hurt anyone sentiments or feelings, but you were probably the best quarterback to play in Portugal. Um, what would you say like to someone that wants to be like the next Joey Bradley in Portugal? What, like, imagine a kid, because we had a couple of them that like really when we were at the Devils really admire you, and I know you remember like the kids of couples friends of Duarte that really love to be around, and
Right.
like they really admire you, Colin. What would you say to those kids that want to be like the next Joey Brad, want to be a QB, to play American football? What would like be your tip to them in order to achieve that goal,
Dude.
or that?
Yeah, I mean, man, playing quarterback is very difficult, and the only reason I have to give all my credit for my ability to people who have taught me in the past. You know, it would, yeah, I've worked really hard by myself, but in terms of the knowledge that I have and being able to transfer it to other people is from a guy named Ryan Byrne, who was my junior college coach. And, but I guess, so it's hard to just do it on your own, first and foremost, I would say. But if someone was going to do it on their own, I mean, it's the age old formula of practice, 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 practice. And, you know, the getting obsessed with the boring stuff, you know, with fundamentals of throwing. The amount of times that I've gone to quarterback camps growing up when I was 13, 14 years old that maybe I really didn't want to go at the time, but working on the same stuff over and over and over again, where now
Yeah,
it's just, I'm a robot essentially, you know, with how I throw. You know, there's no thought process behind it. And so that takes a lot of time and a lot of reps. And so if someone wanted to start early, man, you'd have to find a friend or a wall, not, you'd have to go chase a ball a lot, but find a friend that wants to go catch a ball for an hour, you know, 5 days a week, but then also working on some things. And so I don't know, it's a tough question.
yeah,
But you also need some help, because I didn't do it on my own at all.
yeah. I mean, again, it goes to the we, the us. I mean, no one achieves everything by itself. You always need to surround yourself with the right people, and that comes to my final question. That actually I'm going to break it down because it's a couple of not questions but situations. Okay,
Okay.
so bear with me. Imagine that you're back at the Devils. Okay, and I'm going to give you like
This is fun.
three different scenarios that you'll be facing in a game. And what I want you to do is to tell me the play you will use in that situation, and which player of the Devils that you played with would you like throw the ball or hand it off the ball, or be looking to try to get the ball to. Okay,
Okay.
so imagine you're in the last game of the regular season. We really need to win the game to get the first position in the end of the regular season, and you're faced with the fourth and goal to win the game, and you're in the 5 yard line. Which would be your play, and who would you provide the ball to, throw the ball, hand it off?
And our team is like from when I was there, or the
Yeah,
team
yeah,
is,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Pick,
Then
pick,
yeah, I
uh,
mean, I'm
pick whichever team you want from the 2 years that you were there.
okay. Yeah, I'll kind of blend them together, make an all-star team. But I would, from the 4th and goal, I mean, I'm probably throwing a fade to Colin, fade or back shoulder to Colin, and letting him be an athlete. If then take Colin out of it and we go Portuguese guys, either a slant or an out to Bernardo probably is what I would.
Okay.
That would probably be my from the 5. If we were on like the 1, probably let William just try and pound it in.
Okay. You're stealing me ideas. Don't
okay.
Wait.
Sorry.
That was the first scenario. Second scenario. Imagine we are in the playoffs now, semi-finals game. Okay. And we are losing, let's say, by 2. Okay. And we are in a 4th and 20 to keep on moving forward down the field. Okay. Imagine Colin is not there because Colin is hurt.
Okay.
I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah.
Okay, but 4 and 20, we can kick the field goal, or would you try to play the 4 and 20? And which play would you use, and who would you lower the ball
4th
to?
and 20. I mean,
oh my God, I would love everyone to see your face when I gave this scenario.
4th and 20, man. That one's tough. The first year we didn't even kick any field goals, so the opportunity of kicking a field goal isn't even in my mind. We literally went for 2 every time that year.
That's true.
But okay, taking that out, then I probably go like a seam or a little bender kind of post to Pedro Almeida.
Okay.
I'd let his little ass run as fast as he could and get in front of a guy, and I'll just throw it as hard as I can in there.
Okay. Final one. We are in the championship game. Okay. Championship game. We need to score a touchdown. The other team just scored on us. They are winning by 6. And we start the drive at our 30.
Okay.
Imagine you have 3 plays to move the ball until the end zone. Which plays will it be?
So we got to get like 20 yards of pop, basically. And we got timeouts. We can call it. I can get to the middle of the field, or no?
You have one timeout. One
timeout. Okay. I mean, well,
but imagine they are managed by Portuguese refs. So.
So there could be a minute left. There could be 5 seconds. We're not sure. Or there could be 25 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
I think one game we played, the refs totally forgot about the clock, like completely.
Yeah. That comes from our still amateur side. It happened.
Okay, but I would first play. I'd probably just try and get like 10, 15 yards on an out. Try and save your timeout. So 10, 15 yards, come back or an out to the outside. Get out of bounds.
Colin or Bruno Cardoso. One of the 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. Exactly. Maybe even Flores. Flores could run a good little comeback. And then, so now we're at about midfield or so, and we got kind of the fields open. Do the something over the middle post, seam, bender, over route to Bernard or Pedro, or I'm always going to be trying to look to throw to Colin too, and so some way. But at this point now, I'm not scared to get to the middle of the field. We can either spike it or call the timeout, and then we get down inside the red zone. I'm gonna do what got us a lot of those wins, and I'm just going to throw it up to Colin and let him make us all look good.
Yeah. Colin did that.
I guess we scored a lot of touchdowns on corner routes to Bernardo.
That's true.
Running smash.
Yeah, he was the smash guy.
Yeah. So we go left side, go smash. If corner bails and takes it away, then I'll just turn and say, "Go get it, Colin."
Yeah. Okay, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking this last one. I know it was off. I know I caught you off guard on this one. So thank you very much. Man, I would also like to leave you some space for you to talk a little bit about, because you also have your podcast, your own work. Do you want to share a little bit of that?
Yeah, for sure. No, thanks again for having me on. It's always fun to talk to you, whether we do it with a camera and a mic or not. But yeah, my podcast, Living for a Living podcast, it's kind of my little brand that I'm creating out of the idea that I constantly would be getting asked, what do you do for a living? And I just hated that question. And I'm really just trying to live and and do what I love and connect and do those kind of things. I explain the podcast as I'm not an expert on anything. I think I have a little bit of common sense, trying to have a safe space, a safe space for free speech and thought, which seems to be a little more rare these days as people are getting offended by a lot of stuff. And so um, I'll talk about whatever's on my mind, have some guests that I think also are under that living for a living brand themselves, where they're truly doing things that they enjoy and not too concerned with either the status quo or other people's opinions of them. And yeah, so those things. And then I've also done, I like to do travel vlogs when traveling is allowed. And so I have a series from Nepal and Thailand on YouTube as well. That the Nepal one kind of blew up over last year's lockdown. And so I'm hoping if this year's lockdown happens, I can get the Thailand one to blow up and then hopefully get back to Asia whenever it's possible.
Yeah, yeah.
So
We are.
that's my stuff on, on Instagram. As I told you before, I'm on TikTok, really pushing TikTok nowadays, Twitter, all that stuff, living for a living. So if I love connecting with random people, so if you're listening to this and you want to connect with somebody like me and you enjoyed it, then I'm all for it. I'd love a message, all those stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to leave your details on the description then of the podcast for whoever wants to reach out to you are free to do it. Thank you once again,
Awesome,
my
bro.
friends, and thank you to everyone that follows us here at Tudo Sobre Futebol Americano. We'll keep on putting every daily content related to NFL, to American football in Portuguese. This one is the exception. But thank you, everyone, once again. Have a great rest of day, a great rest of week, and I'll see you, every one of you, back in the next episodes.
Muito obrigado e a próxima uma vamos falar em português.
Boa. Almost. Yeah. Thank
Well, yeah,
you, man.
I was like, how do I say next one?
No próximo.
No próximo. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Thank
Eventually
you,
I'll be
guys.
fluent. Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you, bro.